to the Thermographic Diagnostic Imaging and Health Through Awareness webinar. Our webinar for this evening, we did have some technical difficulties with Sydney Lee and the detoxification talk, so hopefully you're catching this on the archive. So if you're seeing this on the archive, I don't know what to say because it's not live. Okay, so you're seeing it on the archive. So let me just go ahead and introduce Sydney.
Hi.
Hi there, Sydney. Sydney is our representative from Designs for Health, a pharmaceutical grade supplement company. Tonight she's going to be talking about the Designs for Health 14-day cleanse. Sydney has worked as a functional medicine consultant for the past 10 years, educating practitioners and patients on the science and protocols of pharmaceutical grade supplements. She received her training as a certified health coach in 2003 from the Institute for Integrative Nutrition in New York City. Sydney is passionate about teaching people to eat more nutritiously, making positive lifestyle changes, and to understand that food is information to our bodies. And I would just like to say thank you, Sydney, for your patience in trying to get this up and running tonight. And Sydney has helped to guide us in our office to be able to implement these wonderful Designs for Health supplements and shakes into our practice so that we're able to help our patients. And she's done it, as I said, with patience and direction and education for me and some of the staff. So thank you very much for that, Sydney. And we're hoping that you can help demystify this whole cleanse process for us this evening.
I'll certainly try.
Right,
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. And I'm excited. I'm excited to talk to everybody about reducing their toxic burden and detoxification.
Great. Well, you want to get started?
Sure.
Okay.
I always like to start with this kind of funny slide because
yeah.
you kind of look at this and think, there probably needs some cleansing needs to go on. Sometimes when I'm at the Jersey Shore, I make jokes. It's like the public pool. But
where is that? Is that at the Jersey Shore somewhere?
No, it's actually in China.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So that was just, do humans need to detox? And we do. We do need to detox. There is a need. All of us live in an ever-increasing toxic environment. The air we breathe, the water we drink, the food we're eating, the cosmetics and skincare products we put on our body. So we're really being bombarded every day.
That's for sure.
Sorry, I'm trying to advance my slide.
Okay.
It doesn't want to do it. Let me try down here on the screen.
Okay.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
So you're probably asking yourself, are you toxic? And I don't want to say anyone out there is toxic, but the question really is no longer if we are. It's how toxic are we? What's our toxic burden? And where are these toxins coming from? Throughout our daily life, we're constantly in contact with environmental toxins, and a lot of them are leading to health concerns in a whole variety of areas. So we'll talk about that. And this is an investigation, actually a benchmark investigation from the Environmental Working Group in 2005. And it's a very upsetting slide, actually, if you read it. And it talks about chemicals, pollutants, pesticides, all found, 287 of them in umbilical cords of unborn babies. So these are pesticides, consumer products, waste materials, coal, gasoline. So we're kind of being brought into the world these days, already carrying a toxic burden.
That's terrible.
It is, and this is a slide that it's upsetting. I think it's a very impactful slide. But 180 of these chemicals that were found are known cancer-causing in humans or animals. Over 200 of them are toxic to the brain and the nervous system, and over 200 have been shown to cause birth defects. So something to think about if you're in your childbearing years, to really cut down your exposure to these toxins.
And maybe do some sort of, I know in some cultures, they, the women will cleanse their bodies before even thinking about getting pregnant. They have a year of getting their body ready. I think after looking at that, it's not, that's something you definitely should think about.
Absolutely. There's a lot of things you can do as far as, cleaning out household products, and we're going to go through that tonight.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Right. Good.
So there are a lot of chemicals in the environment. I'm just going to really go over the 6 most widespread chemicals tonight. And I think just by kind of getting a sense of what these are, it helps you reduce them in your daily life. So the first one is PDEs, and these are basically, that's the chemical name for flame retardant. And these are known to build up in human fat tissue, causing damage to the nervous system, the liver, the kidneys. Studies also implicate causing sexual dysfunction, thyroid problems. If you think about it, these are all things that are on the rise, right? How many erectile dysfunction commercials do we see?
Yeah,
And I couldn't tell you how many friends I have with thyroid problems.
Yeah, it's true. I can just about every thyroid dental thermogram I do, there's thyroid dysfunction. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I always like to point out here that flame retardant is something that manufacturers seem to brag about on infant clothing and baby kids clothing. Like as a mom, I can tell you that, my 5-year-old has, only had Gap pajamas because they're the only company I can find that has 100% cotton. And there's a tag warning me that it's not flame retardant.
Wow.
Like, hey, thanks.
Yeah, that's great to know.
Yeah,
really, that's great to know.
It's a big one. So the second one is bisphenol A. I'm sure a lot of people who are listening have heard of BPA. Basically found in plastic products, our water bottles, the linings of our food cans. One thing particular you hear about is tomato sauce because it's so acidic. So canned tomato sauce can really leach that BPA into the tomato sauce from the can lining. And dental sealants, like you were just talking about. So most of us are exposed to it through plastic, like we were just saying. And when the CDC did testing, they found that over 90% of people had it in their bodies.
Wow.
And, this is creating issues with reproductive, developmental. I always just kind of explain it in a layman's term is, BPA acts like estrogen in the body. The body recognizes it as a weak estrogenic substance. So, you don't want extra estrogen, right? Creating all kinds of issues.
For sure, yeah.
So the third one is Teflon, and I will say that even if you have Teflon, the non-stick cookware, and there's no scratches in it, I would still recommend replacing it. It's in stain-resistant clothing, lots of, like your processed foods, the packaging itself has a Teflon coating on the inside. And this has been shown in studies to contribute to infertility, reproductive problems, again, liver and immune system. So you can kind of see we're on a trend here, right, with these chemicals. I usually like to recommend stainless steel. That's a great thing to cook with. It lasts forever. It's very clean.
And it's an investment, people say it is a little pricey, but it's worth it because it's an investment. You'll have it for years and years and years.
You will. And, you don't have to go and throw out every pot tonight. You can try to one by one replace them. And I always find great ones at Marshall's, so that's a help to anyone.
No, good. I
get a lot of good
shopping tips from our girls.
Would you expect anything less from
me? No.
So acrylamide is basically a chemical carcinogen. It's formed when carbohydrate foods are cooked at high temperatures. So we kind of already know that French fries and fried chicken isn't great for us, but in not just that it's fried fat, it actually is creating this carcinogenic chemical when it's being heated. And I was upset to see that coffee was also on that list. But, you know, one organic cup of coffee a day is probably okay.
Yes.
So this is also used in plastics and cosmetics, water treatment products. And again, exposure to this can be linked to cancer and neurological dysfunction.
Mm. So it would organic coffee be free of that? Or mostly free of it?
I think because it's anything that's heated at a high temperature. But I do know that like decaffeinated coffee is, they say has a lot of chemicals in it. So even organic decaf coffee is not great.
Okay. Thank God I'm not a coffee drinker.
Yeah, I got it down to 1 small cup. So.
Okay, good.
So number 5 is mercury, and I think most people know at this point, right? We don't want to be exposed to mercury.
Mm-hmm.
Even, gosh, 5 or 6 years ago, I remember when I was pregnant, they said not to have more than 1 can of tuna fish a month if you're pregnant. So if they're even admitting that back then, I would say probably stay away from canned tuna for the most part. And the problem with mercury is it's very hard to get out of the brain. So the life cycle of mercury can be excreted out of the body over time, but it's very, very, very hard to get out of the brain. And I know a lot of people eat sushi thinking that's, a healthy dinner or, food. But, I wouldn't be eating sushi on a regular basis if you're trying to limit your mercury and heavy metal exposure.
Yeah.
I even see some kids eating sushi when we're out, and I kind of cringe because, they're smaller and it doesn't take as much to make an impact on them.
Wow. Scary.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of stuff to think about. So the last one, which I'm not going to try to sound that out for you, but it's basically a gasoline additive. This hasn't even been in circulation in the US for many years, and it's detected in almost every American. You can find it in just about every person tested.
Wow.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting because they talk about the toxins that, say, your grandparents were exposed to reflect in your DNA. So that's how we can still find some of these chemicals that haven't been around in so long.
Wow. That's interesting.
So that was the 6 top exposures. And this gets more into talking about dioxins. So typically we find these in meats, farmed fish, your dairy products. And a little more research has to be done to fully understand, what is the mechanism that's creating this. But they're basically saying that these dioxins are promoting type 2 diabetes, or possibly. And I think it links back to some research that they call with persistent organic pollutants. So having a high toxicity load being linked to the type 2 diabetes. So sometimes patients are just carrying such a high toxic burden, it's creating this inflammatory and insulin response. So how do you know if these toxins you've been exposed to are causing health problems? So let's go through some of the symptoms. So some of the common symptoms you may experience would be fatigue. That's definitely the first one I always hear from people. Depression, obesity, slow metabolism, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. Headaches, cognitive problems. A lot of people say they have brain fog. They're only in their 40s and they can't remember things on a regular basis. Neurological problems. So these can all really be linked to just having an excessive toxic burden. So we have to try to, lower that load. So what can you do? And this is such a cute picture.
Yes, it is adorable.
But I always kind of cringe because they're like laying in a flame retardant shag carpet. So you can tell I'm kind of the detox, always thinking about where these toxins
are. Right, yeah.
So we can reduce our exposure and we can detoxify our body. Eating organic is definitely one of the top things you can do for reducing these pesticides and some of these pest toxins in our everyday. So this is the Dirty Dozen. This is, you know, if you can't afford to eat organic all the time because it is costly, these are kind of the top things that you would want to prioritize to be organic. And you can probably just Google Dirty Dozen. You could also go to this foodnews.org, but it changes pretty often. But strawberries are always on there. Apples are always on there. They're things that are basically kind of fragile to bugs and probably get sprayed with more pesticides.
Yeah. I know peaches are always on there.
Mm-hmm. And then there's the Clean 15. So, you know, you don't always have to buy these organic. You know, avocados, onions, eggplant. So kind of thicker skinned.
Right, yeah.
So some other things you can think about is, how are you storing your food? Hopefully you're not microwaving in plastic. You know, so they're basically just talking about here that the phthalates and other toxins found in majority of plastic packaging can leach into the food that we're eating. So we're recommending that you use stainless steel, drink out of a glass water bottle. I know Costco sells some great glass Tupperware containers, and I'm finding now, even in the grocery store, like at Wegmans, they'll sell stainless steel containers. So these are great to have.
They sell stainless steel containers?
Yeah, I'm finding them now. Like it's like they're kind of a smaller, round, like stackable, and they have like a rubber top to them.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Especially for anybody out there who has kids, you know, we're sending them to school with these beautiful organic lunches, and we want to put them in something clean, not a plastic container. So like I mentioned, please never microwave in plastic. It just increases that leaching so much. And I guess down here it's just mentioning that if you look at the bottom of the plastic container and it has number 3 or PVC, that's probably an indicator that it has these phthalates and other things in them.
So if it's marked with a number 3, then you want to avoid it.
It says here, if you want to reduce exposure to phthalates, avoid. So I think those are probably the top 2. I know that there was some research that they did on even PBA-free plastic, and even that had an extremely weak estrogen-like effect to it. So I personally don't trust any plastic at this point. Sometimes you can't avoid it, but you know, even if it says PBA-free, I wouldn't be microwaving and heating in it.
No. Well, you shouldn't be microwaving anyway, right?
Agreed. Sometimes, you know, it's there, right? We all, every once in a while.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, hold on, my thing wasn't advancing again. There we go. So what else can we do? Get rid of these pesky toxins. So detoxification is something we can do. It's simple, normalizing the body's ability to process and excrete toxins. So we want to also reduce the amount of toxins that are incoming while we do this. Detoxification pathways have the capacity, they have capacity limitations, and then they get overburdened. So they show the glass of water here, and I always use that as, think of the glass of water as your liver, right? And it's getting filled up with water, and as that water spills over, that's when you start to feel your symptoms, because you're overburdened. The liver can only process so much at a time.
Okay.
So there's a couple processes to detoxification. So it's basically referring to metabolic pathways in which the cells transform these toxic substances into relatively inert metabolites that can be readily excreted via the urine or bile. And since the majority of these toxic substances are fat soluble, they have an affinity and are stored in the fat. So we'll talk more about fat-loving toxins as we talk more about weight loss in a few more slides. But so basically, I'm going to show you on the next slide here. Oh, not this one, but These are all of our organs that are for detoxifying. And skin is actually one of the largest, right? That's our largest detoxifying organ. We're going to focus primarily on the liver. And there are two phases to the system of detoxification. So phase one is transforming this fat-soluble toxin and making it more water-soluble compound. So then it's carried through the blood to the liver for further processing, and goes to the kidneys for elimination. Then phase two is completing the detoxification in the liver and sending the toxins back to the kidney for elimination, or into the bile for elimination via the GI tract. So I'm a visual learner, so this is how I feel like it's easiest to understand. So if you look at phase one, that's basically that fat-soluble toxin, and it's coming into phase two and becoming water-soluble, so it can basically be excreted. And we're going to talk more about this when we talk about doing the 14-day cleanse and some of the ingredients in there, the nutrients, because a lot of us are very good at phase one, and a lot of us have trouble with phase two. So we can be really good at getting those toxins up to the gate, and we want to support them with the right nutrients and the right processes to have phase two not back up, because that's when you start to not feel so good when you're doing a detox.
Right. And that could be kind of dangerous too, right, Sydney? If all of those toxins are loose now and they're not being excreted from the body.
Absolutely. So it actually becomes more harmful if it has to recirculate through the body. So that's why, perfect intro to the next slide. Right. That's why not just fast, right? Not something I would recommend ever doing, and it certainly would not help with a detox. Basically what's going to happen is it's going to put your body in an emergency mode. It's going to start to break down your muscle, your adipose tissue. And it's also going to result in a surge of toxins circulating through the body. So we want to support the body with as much nutrients and things to support that phase two as possible. Another thing is when you're fasting, you're not getting the proper fiber. So you're not eliminating. So all these toxins are gathering up to leave, and they're not leaving because we don't have the right fiber to excrete them. And then insufficient calories. So that also impedes that biotransformation that we talked about, that phase one, phase two. And detoxification is highly energy dependent. So a lot of times if someone tells me they're not feeling great on their detox, I say, are you eating enough? And they're like, well, I didn't know what to eat. You just look at the guide and figure out what to eat, because sometimes it's just you're not getting enough calories.
Right.
So weight loss resistance. This is a big motivator for a lot of people to want to do a cleanse. I will state that a cleanse is not a weight loss program, but a lot of patients do lose weight. Sometimes people will be good at losing weight and then they'll plateau, excuse me, and they're not able to continue losing weight. And that could be because the toxins are stored in their fat. We talked about before, toxins are fat loving. So the amount of fat cells that we have now is never going to decrease. We're just going to be able to shrink those fat cells. And a lot of times they're filled with toxins, right? So if we can liberate that cell and get rid of toxins, we can shrink those fat cells. And sometimes the body's guarding. It doesn't want to let loose of those toxins. And then detoxification, as I just already talked about, is a great way to jumpstart the weight loss.
I think that's a great, I love that point. Some people, when they plateau and they get so frustrated in their weight loss program, and I point this out to them, your body's protecting you. It can't dump any more toxins in, so it's doing exactly what it should be doing. And it's very reassuring for folks to hear that.
Absolutely. When people say to me, oh, I lost 15 pounds, I just can't, and I'm like, you need a detox, and even if it's when people do a detox to kick off a weight loss, a lot of times they lose weight. Even if they don't, I feel like they always are more clear-headed, they're sleeping better, and they're more motivated to start exercising and losing weight. So
That's true.
So that brings us to the paleo cleanse. So I've done a lot of detoxes over the years. Leisha, you know, we've done some other detoxes
Yes, we
together,
have.
and
Yes, we have.
this is my favorite. You know, it's I love the ingredients and I love how easy it is. So we're now using a certified organic pea protein. This is non-GMO, North American, pure peas, and they're in a convenient, easy to use packets. So every day you can just take your packets with you, and they can mix with water or maybe some unsweetened coconut milk. The food plan is extremely simple. It's basically an elimination diet with a paleo-friendly food plan, which we're going to go through. The taste is, I think, pretty good. You know, no detox tastes fabulous, but I find most people can add some berries, or they find it pretty palatable. It's like a vanilla kind of berry.
Yeah, I have to say, honestly, when I'm making my shake for my lunchtime, and people come in the lunchroom and they say, "Wow, what is that? It smells so good," and I think they taste great.
Yeah, I personally think
Yeah,
it's
I
probably
really
one of
do.
the best ones we've tasted.
Yes.
And it's easy to disguise. So if you don't like vanilla berry, you can, you know, put something else in it.
Yeah.
So it's 18 grams of protein, which is a really nice high amount of protein. And the nice thing about pea protein is it has a high amino acid profile. So it includes nice branched chain amino acids. So any of our athletes out there that want to make sure they're maintaining enough muscle. And then there's a specific multivitamin mineral complex. So if you are taking a multi, you don't necessarily need to take it while you're on the cleanse. And then there's those nutrients I was telling you about that are going to support phase 1 and phase 2 to keep that liver in balance. Other specialized nutrients to promote bile flow and improve gallbladder function. These are all things we want to support while we're detoxifying. Therapeutic antioxidant levels. And this is important because while you're detoxifying, you're creating oxidative stress. So you want to have that antioxidant level to protect your cells. Glucomannan and fiber. This is going to help, you know, move things along because it's fiber, but it's also going to help with satiety. So that shake can keep you full for 2 to 3 hours. And then lastly, we've actually added organic fruits and vegetables to the powder. So your protein shake is going to have the fiber and the fruits and vegetables. But I still want people eating lots of fruits and vegetables, but
Right.
it's nice that it's in there. It gives you a little extra.
Yes.
So the detox program guidelines basically follow a low allergen elimination diet. So we're going to ask that you remove gluten, dairy, sugar, alcohol, and caffeine, because we want to reduce the amount of allergens entering the body as we're cleaning out, right? We want to kind of say, hey, liver, we're going to focus on cleaning out and not try to bombard you with more.
Yes.
And so this is going to also help diminish yeast overgrowth in the gut. Elimination is going to help lower inflammation, so that helps lower toxic reactions. And it really maximizes the effectiveness of the program. So at the end, when you're ready to reintroduce maybe some of these foods, you may decide, hey, you know what? Maybe I don't need coffee every morning, or maybe I don't really miss gluten. Maybe I feel pretty good. But some people still need to prove it to themselves. So basically what you can do is slowly reintroduce these foods back into the diet. So let's say you think that gluten might be a sensitivity for you. You can, on day, say, 15, eat gluten, eat it a couple times that day. I would wait then about 36 to 48 hours, maybe even 72 hours, and kind of take note of how you're feeling. See if gluten does affect you. Sometimes it's hard to notice unless you really pay attention. And just real briefly, you know, one of the problems, some of the problems with grains and gluten is that it is problematic for a large population of people. And, you know, if you keep, kind of triggering the immune system with that sensitivity, it could lead to an autoimmune disease, results in inflammation, which creates joint pain, thyroid issues, nervous system issues. So you want to try to pay attention to those sensitivities. And then soy and corn are also common allergen foods. Typically, unless they're certified organic, they're genetically modified.
Yes.
And so you're going to basically, the guidebook will spell this all out as well, but it's going to be 2 meals a day using your shake, your Paleo Cleanse Plus packet. And then you're going to do one appropriate detox-friendly meal. And there's lots of examples. And then you can snack from any of the foods. So there's no calorie restriction. And there's all kinds of great things on there. You can still eat eggs, grass-fed, meat like bison, organic chicken. I don't know, Alicia, about you, but I remember like years ago doing a detox and living on kale and shakes
Yes.
for 3 or 4 days, and it was not pleasant. And it was like, you made it through, great, but you really weren't encouraged to do it again. And I find with this paleo cleanse that it's so easy and so user-friendly that a lot of times patients will ask, can I do that again? Can I keep doing it? It's something that's very user-friendly.
Yes, I would have to agree with that. Yeah, it couldn't be simpler. I mean,
Yeah.
it really couldn't be simpler. I don't find that I feel deprived. I'm not hungry. You're actually eating a lot of food, and the shakes are so filling. I like to use coconut milk in mine, so that really helps to make it fill me up. And yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it kind of sometimes too, if you're eating a lot of processed foods, it brings you back to, wow, like regular, simple food tastes good. You
Right.
have to like retrain your palate. But, and funny you're talking about the coconut milk, because I've been getting a lot of emails, as you could imagine. I get a lot of nutrition updates and things. And
Right.
the big talk I'm finding these days is eat fat to get skinny.
Yes.
And, right? So we talk a lot about in the guidebook, eating healthy fats. So eat coconut oil, eat avocado, don't skimp on your healthy fats, because if you do, it's going to keep you, wanting something more. Then you're going to crave those bad fats.
Right. It's so true. I had somebody I was talking to today, and we were talking about doing the cleanse, and just because of it, the food that you're allowed to eat, she's started really cooking, like the art of cooking again, bringing in the fresh vegetables, washing them, chopping them up, preparing the meal from scratch. And it's a wonderful, she said she loves it, and it's just a wonderful example for her daughter to watch the preparation of food, because I think our children these days don't know how to cook unless it's something they can throw in the microwave. So you give them a bunch of vegetables, they won't know what to do with it. They don't know how to cook.
Yeah,
So.
no, I love it. I love to hear that she's, learning to nurture herself and her family, because that's really what cooking is. I mean, it's probably one of the best things you can do for your own health and for your families.
I agree.
And something I want to make sure I point out here, if you read the last couple of bullet points, drink plenty of water, because we need to get these toxins out. So if you start feeling a little bit headachy, day 2 and 3, I find are like most, if people are going to have any type of little bit of side effects, it's day 2 or 3. And it's because they're either didn't wean off their coffee long enough, or they're not drinking enough water or eating enough calories. So we're recommending, it says half an ounce per pound. So basically, I always say it's half your body weight in ounces. So if you weigh 150 pounds, you need to be drinking 75 ounces of water a day.
Right. That's so important.
Yeah.
You've got to be flushing the toxins out. And the
that's
helping to do it.
Sorry, my thing's not, I don't know why it's giving me trouble. Sorry, there we go.
Okay.
So we just talked about that. Drink half your body weight in ounces. If you can, eat only organic foods, or as much as you can, because really, I think a big part of our toxic burden is coming from our food these days. So we already talked about, avoiding foods that are high with pesticides, mercury. You want to avoid your allergenic foods. Eat your veggies, get the fiber in. And then again, the healthy fats they talked about here. Avoiding processed food. And since we're not doing this live, and we probably won't get this question tonight, it's a question that comes up on every talk I ever do. Well, do I have to give up coffee? So here's my make a deal with that person.
Okay.
Okay, if you can get it down to 1 organic cup of coffee a day, and remember, we're not using sugar, and we can't use dairy, so you'd have to use some alternatives if you don't drink it black. I would say it's okay to do that 1 cup of coffee, but I ask that you maybe trade off by doing an extra serving of leafy green vegetables to keep the body alkalined and kind of make up for that acidity of the coffee.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I think if you're a devoted coffee drinker, you could put in an extra, serving of kale for a cup of coffee.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So managing the side effects, the more toxic people are, typically the more toxins they have to get rid of. So they may experience some of the symptoms in the beginning of their cleanse. So the headache we talked about, and again, make sure you're eating enough calories, make sure you're drinking enough water. The weakness and the dizziness, I think that also comes from not having enough calories to support the liver. Like we talked about, detoxification is highly energy dependent. Muscle aches, I don't hear that a lot, but I guess, everybody's different.
Right.
And skin rash, I've had this come up just really a couple times over the years. And basically because the skin, right, is our major organ of elimination. So I would push through and continue to do the cleanse. If somebody for some reason felt like it was too much to do the 2 shakes a day, they could go down to 1 shake a day for a few days if they felt they needed to do that. If somebody feels they're not eliminating, if they're not going to the bathroom, they may want to talk to, Dr. Getson, or, you could probably add in a little bit of magnesium citrate or a little extra scoop of fiber, and you should be fine. And we actually add the fiber to the cleanse shake itself, so you should be fine. But you want to let a doctor know if you're not eliminating for days. So here's the good stuff. What's the benefit? So absolutely, I think every single person who completes this detox will tell you increased energy. I've never had anybody tell me it did not increase their energy. Better sleep, reduced joint pain. We already talked about improving weight loss, better focus, less brain fog, and improved digestion. So when you have that improved digestion, right, you have like that flatter belly, you're not so bloated.
Right, yeah. The folks that I've worked with, and that we have a lot of patients that have reflex sympathetic dystrophy in the office. And I can't tell you how successful this cleanse has been with them. They're just all of these things, increased energy, everything that you've noted here, but also their pain levels go down significantly.
Huge, yeah.
Yeah, oh, it's true. It's tremendous. I mean, and so they say, yes, they still have pain, but it is down significantly, and it's bearable.
Yeah, that's a big difference in quality of life.
Right? That's huge. So what I love and they all say the same thing, that they have overall, yes, they still have the RSD pain, but they have an overall feeling of well-being.
That's great.
It's fantastic. They're just grounded. They're focused. It's just wonderful.
That's great.
Yeah.
I think it's just the world we live in now. I think regular, detoxification is going to become part of our wellness program, right? Every year, maybe twice a year, we're going to do a cleansing program because we're just bombarded.
Yeah, yeah. So that's how you started out. It's not a matter of if we are. And so this, as you said, is part of our health regime to do this stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's becoming something that I'm finding most integrative practitioners have. Every new patient starting a wellness program or starting a weight loss program are being presented with, like, listen, you may want to consider doing a detoxification program. So, and why not this one, right? Paleo cleanse. Yeah, it's the easiest, I feel like. So this just kind of highlights again what we talked about. There is a 21-day, so if someone was interested, they could do the longer. I usually recommend that for patients who are more prone to chronic fatigue or fibromyalgia. Those patients tend to not be as efficient at detoxifying. And I feel like a longer, slower cleanse benefits them more.
I could comment on that again with the patients with reflex sympathetic dystrophy. Most of them have done even longer than 21 day. They feel so good on it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think for those patients, you know, it's 2 shakes a day. They may even sometimes start with 1 pack a day, you know, for the first week, and then kind of go into 2, and, you know, everybody's different, but
right.
I find for really 95% of the population, they can take the Paleo Cleanse Plus the way we recommend it, and they do great on it.
Yeah.
And I always add this slide in because I think it's important to take a mental detox. Stop thinking negative thoughts, try not to be in that pattern. Don't overburden yourself, right? Especially us women, we're always caregivers for everybody, right? So
doing too much.
Yep. So enjoy that it's a sunny day. Go for a walk. Make yourself a priority, you know, even if it's only for a short time.
Yeah. I think that this is so important, that last one, because you can do all that other stuff, but you really need to take a look at that mental detoxification. And
enjoy family.
Yes. You know? Yeah. Adopt an attitude of gratitude too.
I like that.
Yeah.
I'll have to add that to my next bullet point.
Put it on. Okay. I'll let you use it.
So let me just touch really quick when we have this last slide up. The Paleo Cleanse Plus program comes with the 28 individual serving packets for the powder itself, which has what we talked about in that that one slide. You know, it has the 18 grams of pea protein, it has all the nutrients like a multivitamin, the organic fruits and vegetables, the fiber. There's also going to be a capsule packet, another packet that you're going to take along with the powder, with the shake. And that's going to be, it's called Amino Detox, and that's going to basically help further support that phase 2. There's some nutrients in there that, like N-acetylcysteine, which someone described once as like the fly paper of toxins like to stick to it and pulls them out. So a lot of great nutrients. So you want to take the capsules at the same time. And then there's also a small little, so there's I think 3 amino detox and 1 digestive enzyme called hydrolyzyme. And that's going to really help patients get the most out of that protein shake. It's going to help them digest and absorb it.
Right.
So I just wanted to touch on that because it wasn't mentioned earlier.
And they take that packet when they're taking their shake.
Yes.
Okay. And so you have one there. If you order by February 3rd, you receive a 15% discount and a free shaker bottle. And to just give me a call at the office, 856-596-0200. Sydney, I just would like to just say a couple things about the company of Designs for Health.
Sure.
So lots of companies out there, lots of supplement companies and things like that. We love Designs for Health. Because of Sydney, and their products are wonderful. They taste great. They make it as simple as possible. There's great support. You know, call somebody on the phone and you get to talk to one of the doctors if you have any questions. So that's really great. And their mission is, at Designs for Health, they are committed to delivering high-quality nutritional supplements, educating healthcare practitioners as to their optimal therapeutic use, and providing practice development solutions supportive to the healthcare practitioner. And their creed is science first. Our science first philosophy is demonstrated by our commitment to research-driven products, synergistic formulations, and meaningful quantities of therapeutic ingredients. I think that's important, and you know, it's backed by science.
It is, and I think that last sentence says it nicely, where it says meaningful quantities of therapeutic ingredients. You know, when we say there's 200 milligrams of something in there, that's what's in there. And, you know, it's not a regulated industry, the supplement industry, and we are regulated. You know, we're overseen by the FDA. We follow all their guidelines. We pass with flying colors when we're checked on all the time by them. All of our raw materials go into a quarantine for 2 weeks. They're checked to make sure that they, you know, are what they say they are, and that they don't have contaminants, right? We want to make sure that they don't have any added microbes or lead or, you know, metals or anything that shouldn't be in there. So we check for making sure it's clean source and that it's an efficacious source.
Yeah, that's very important. Very important. Yeah. Anything else you'd like to add? Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and they're a great company, family owned, 25 years. I've found a home here. It's a great company. I feel like they really they always want to just do the right thing, you know, and help as many patients as they can.
Yeah, and I think that comes through, you know, that family, the family values, and as a practitioner, you know, me being a practitioner, they make you feel like part of the family, you know, because they're so very helpful and everybody's always so pleasant, and you know, it's a great company to work with.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. This was fun, and hopefully everybody enjoys it.
Yes. Well, thank you, Sydney. You know, we did have some technical problems, but thank you for your patience and hanging in there to present this information. And it is in such a easy to understand. You really did take some of the mystery out of it for us and some of the complications. So we appreciate you taking the time to do that.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Okay. So next month, our webinar will be on Wednesday, February 24th, and we'll have Dr. Colette Hayes. She's a chiropractor and a homeopathy professor. She will be talking about the history and principles that distinguish homeopathy as a holistic, safe, and effective form of complementary medicine. And some of her topics will include remedies for the flu, first aid, and women's health, as well as Dr. Hayes' top 12 remedies, all intended to introduce the newcomer to homeopathy. And if you would like, we are asking that if you are enjoying what you're hearing on the webinars, or you're enjoying the services you get at Thermographic Diagnostic Imaging, if you find value in the things we're doing, to please leave us a review on our Google or Facebook. And you can do that. You can find us by Googling Thermographic Diagnostic Imaging on Facebook or Google. You go to our, up in the top right-hand corner, there's a G for Google and an F for Facebook. And so we'd love to hear from you. Again, Sydney, thank you. And thank you to all who will be listening to this.
Thank you. Take care.
Good night.